They think speculators are driving up prices that could hurt the recovery. We bring in the Bulls and Bears panel: Scott Martin, Adam Lashinsky, Mike Norman, and Liz McDonald. Some people say this issue of speculators is a black helicopter crowd and it suddenly disappears when prices are lower. But Mike Norman, you've been on trading floors all your life. What do you think?
Well, Liz, I think the evidence is very clear. I mean, it's there. I mean, Fox News talked about this last year. The Wall Street Journal wrote a big article about this. I mean, if you look at the numbers in the last 5 years, you've seen futures positions increase by 300%. We now, futures positions hold 1.5 billion barrels of oil. The total global consumption on a daily basis is like 90 million. It's 20 times, you know, what the actual demand is on a daily basis. The correlation is very, very clear, but I don't think anything's going to come out of this Justice Department inquiry simply because, you know, in the Dodd-Frank Act, there were provisions in there. The CFTC had the mandate to go and do something. Wall Street pushed all this back to 2012. The teeth were taken out of those Dodd-Frank measures, so I really don't think anything's going to happen.
Well, Liz McDonald, the fact is there's always speculation, but there is some supply and demand coming on the line, particularly because of the Saudi Arabians who actually have been pulling back in production. Doesn't that have an effect on the price as well?
Yeah, that does have an effect on the price as well. And listen, if you want to get rid of speculation, try strengthening the dollar. But, you know, these officials, yeah, it does. The officials here involved have already said there's no proof of illegal conduct. We know we know that there's been speculation in the markets. That's why it's called a futures market. But, you know, federal agencies already have the power to probe and to investigate. You don't need a task force to do it. And the other thing, too, is, you know, I talked to an industry official, and they said, look at, you know, sticking the Department of Justice on little gas stations when the states are already, you know, have the authority over there is like trying to kill an ant with a nuclear weapon.
Well, Adam, I don't know. I mean, we had Howard Schultz of Starbucks on the 40th anniversary, and he flat out said on Fox Business, speculators are driving up the price of coffee. It's been outrageous, he said, and he said it's hedge funds and speculators.
You know, I believe that he believes that, but I just don't think it's a meaningful statement. You know, he doesn't. In other words, he's not outraged when the price of coffee is plummeting. I think Liz hit the nail on the head when she said that. I mean, let me take a step back. This is completely political, and by political, I don't mean ideological or partisan. The president is the president. People are upset about high gas prices, so he says, we're going to do something about it. But of course he's not going to do anything about it, and of course the Justice Department and the states can prosecute illegal speculation or price fixing anytime they damn well please. Nothing will come of this. Nothing
Scott,
whatsoever.
what do you think of all this?
David, I'm with EMAC. I think it's a dollar story more than anything. I mean, look what happened Monday, guys. We had the downgrade from S&P. The dollar rallied inexplicably, and oil fell, what, $3, $4?
Well,
these speculators do not want to stay in the market, Mike, when the dollar's rallying. If the it's a Federal Reserve
answer
issue.
this question then. The price of oil is going up in euros. It's going up in yen. It's going up in the price when denominated in other currencies.
So
if it's only a dollar story, how do you explain that?
As long as the dollar is falling, oil prices will go to the sky.
No.
The Federal Reserve is the one taking advantage of the U.S. consumer.
If a dollar-based purchaser loses purchasing power, in other words, if our currency goes down, yes, the price goes up to us, but it just shifts to somebody else who has more. The net result.
We're going to have to continue this argument. In fact, they're allowed to yell at each other once we even dump out of the shot. So let them do that. We thank our panel. We have to move on because there are other major stories today. Steve Jobs and the rest of Apple apparently can find out where you are, and Washington, D.C. is not happy about it. Members of Congress and the FCC promising investigations after security researchers in Britain discovered that the iPhone and iPad can track your location, and Apple admitted that, yeah, it can intermittently collect information for its own use.
Big Brother at work. Well, the news coming just hours after the company reported blockbuster earnings, sending the shares sharply higher today.
So what's the financial upside for Apple to track customers when it's clear there would be a huge backlash? For that, we go back to our Bulls and Bears panel. And Liz McDonald, I saw this, and at first I thought, ain't no big thing, except that it's annoying when you hear that they can track you through certain ways of downloading onto your PC.
It is annoying, Liz, and I hear what you're saying. I think they're doing. Actually, I don't think Steve Jobs really wants to know where Mike Norman is buying his slushies, at which 7-Eleven before he hits the slopes. But, you know, listen.
Me and Jobs are like this.
Okay, so let's get to the point. So the issue is the iPhone has the iAd app, meaning that they want to sell ads to advertisers. That's Apple's game plan. They've done this since 2008. You can disable this this tracking device. It's not a good idea. I don't like snooping at all, but it's to help local stores zoom coupons to your little Apple device. That might be the idea.
But, Scott Martin, there have been times before when commercial devices were used for other purposes. We've seen that happen, maybe not here, but we've certainly seen it happen in China and other countries, right?
Well, we have, David, and obviously that's respective of their governments. And EMAC, to your point, you know, I find out where Mike Norman is, and then I don't go there. It's typically what I use the technology for. Mike, I'm just kidding. But look, EMAC's right. It's about the coupons.
That's not what your buddies are telling me, huh? You're
from...
following every footstep I make. That's what I hear.
Okay, go on,
Well,
Scott.
hey, I read your stuff, Mike. Listen. EMAC, it's all about the coupons. It's all about the tips that they're sending right to your phone. David, as far as Apple goes, they could contract with a bunch of these companies and get direct marketing to people who are in those areas or people that frequent those areas and make money off it.
But is this anger that's coming out of Washington and, frankly, some owners of iPhones who are really annoyed by this, Mike Norman, does this hurt their iPhone sales, which were the real driver for earnings that came out yesterday?
Nothing will hurt the iPhone sales. Nothing. Listen, let me... turn you on to something, a fact in America. I mean, information is out there. Nobody has any privacy. Apple has. Come on, everybody. Look, look. Credit bureaus know what you're doing. The IRS knows what you're doing. The government. There's no privacy. And Apple's a very smart company. They're doing it for exactly what Liz said. This is to build a database, information, customers. Purchasing patterns and habits, all kinds of. This is data mining.
I don't have an iPhone.
This is data mining, and people are not going to care because the product is a fantastic product.
Adam, to be clear, despite these concerns, despite any kind of inkling of these concerns, iPhone sales are through the roof, particularly since they made the deal with Verizon.
Yeah, and they're through the roof, not only because it's a beautiful product, but because of the application environment that Apple's made. You know, it's got this giant app store with hundreds of thousands of applications that people like to get. The sort of things that we're talking about here are things that Apple might do or that they could do in the future. Now, they've already said things like they will never, give customer information unless the customer says they can do it. That's what they've said when publishers have complained that they don't want Apple selling their subscriptions. So they've been on the record on this sort of thing. They're going to have to step up and behave similarly.
Liz, Android is already getting major market share. Let's just call it like we see it. Does this push more people to Android phones?
You know, people don't want to be tracked. I'm sorry. And what Apple needs to do, I think, just personally, put it in your boilerplate saying, we will track you. If you don't want to be tracked, disable it. Disable this application.
Go ahead, Adam.
Most people pay no attention whatsoever.
That's right.
But some people
wait a minute. I mean,
really
Mozilla's Firefox is getting a lot of people now using their browser because they will not track what you do. They say they won't.
But what it shocks me is that David Asman did not invoke the Big Brother scenario here. That somehow,
yes, I did. Of course I did. Of course I did.
I guess I should take that.
And if you don't think there are people in the government thinking, how can we track Mike Norman?
Then
you should wonder.
This wouldn't be bulls and bears.
Why that black
David Asman did not invoke the Big Brother scenario here, that somehow the government is working secretly through Apple to get the information.
They would have gotten him by now.
Michael, that wide eyes of yours scares me more than anything that I've ever heard of.
Take a look then.
BlackBerry.
That's the poster.
Just stay with the BlackBerry.
Big Brother is watching.
Exactly.
Thank you, gang.
Thanks to our panel.